Hello, hello. Can you hear me? Yeah. All right. Thank you very much for all being here. Firstly, I'm going to present you accessibility first, building an app with support for various disabilities. I'm sorry, I don't speak any Spanish at all. Oh, is it better? Oh, okay, yeah, I think it's better. So I was saying, thank you for being here. I'm going to present you this talk, which is called Accessibility First, building an app with support for various disabilities. And I'm sorry in advance for all Spanish speakers, I don't speak any Spanish at all. So, yeah. So before telling you about accessibility, I want to present a little bit myself because you shouldn't listen to any stranger. So my name is Enzo Conty. I'm French. I'm the CTO of a company called Ezymob, based in Paris. I'm a GDE organizer of Bordeaux. I'm also the Flutter meetup group organizer of Bordeaux. And more recently, I've been a GDE for Flutter and Dart. Okay, so I prepared a little agenda. So we'll see in 4 points. You will see that the 3 first points will go very quickly and the 4th one a little bit longer. So we'll go first in detail, so what is accessibility? Second, we'll see some form of disabilities. I'm not going to say all of them because we'll be there for the whole week otherwise. Then in third, I will be speaking about some lies that I heard about accessibility and how you can convince your manager or your N+1 or N+2 to do accessibility. And in fourth, we'll see the different solutions that we have. Okay, so what is accessibility? Is there like, by a show of hand, is there like some people who have no clue what accessibility is? Okay, there's one people, okay. I mean, like, all right. So you're all experts. I'm just going to pull up some definitions that I've found on Wikipedia. And Wikipedia says basically that accessibility is making content and services accessible to people with disabilities and more generally to all users. What is very important in this sentence is like basically that it's not only for disabled people, it's not only for people who have handicaps, but it's more for all users. By doing accessibility, you are helping all the users that you have on your application or on your product. So, as I say, the first parts are going to go very quickly, so we'll see the different form of disabilities. For that, I found like 3 different main categories, and we'll go over them little by little. First, I want to present you the sensory disabilities. That does include the blind and the visually impaired people. That also include the deaf or hard of hearing people. Then we'll speak about the second category of people of disabilities, basically, that we're going to go over with this talk. We're going to speak about cognitive disabilities, and on this one I will speak about dyslexia and also about ADHD. Then in third, we'll speak about mobility disabilities, and again, there's a lot of potential disabilities in that, but I will only speak about person with reduced mobility and temporary. Does anybody have a clue of what is temporary? No? Alright. Temporary is basically you go skiing, you break your arm, and then you have your arm in a cast, then you are disabled for a period of time, like until your arm heals, basically. So in this time, you are basically temporarily disabled. So I want to speak about accessibility, but it's always very hard. Why it's very hard? Because there is a lot of difficulty to convince people to spend money on accessibility. And so I want to speak about the lies that I heard about accessibility over 7 years of freelancing, and how basically I'm trying to convince people to do accessibility. The first thing that I've very often heard is it's only for a few users. It's very, very often I hear, oh yeah, we're going to do accessibility, but it's only for a few users. It's like maybe like 3 or 4% of our user base. Why should you care about this? And it's obviously false, because by again doing accessibility, you're not helping only handicapped people, but all your user base. But more importantly, even if you take only the people with deficiency, we have like this number, which is like very long. It's like 1,183,200,000, and it's basically 15% of the world population. Why I'm speaking about this number? Because like the OMS or the WHO, World Health Organization, basically big statistic people, say that there is around 15% of the global population in the world that does have some sort of deficiency or handicaps. And that means that whenever you support accessibility, you're not only supporting for 3 or 4% of your users, you are helping like that many people to help and like have access to digital services. Because this number is like so big, it's very difficult to usually wrap our mind around it, or at least that's my case. So I made some little charts. So if you are choosing to support accessibility, you are supporting also to help 3.5 the population, 3.5 times the population of the USA. So it's like quite big. Because I'm French, I have to speak about France, of course. So it's like 17 times the population of France. And because we're here today, I put like 24 times the population of Spain. I does put like, I'm like, the SVG is weird, but whatever. All right. Another lie that I heard quite a lot about accessibility is my product is too complicated to be accessible. I very often hear that when I work for banks or insurance providers or big systems, basically with a lot of hierarchy. And usually it's not true at all. I want to say your product is very poorly designed. That's mainly the issue, because you think about accessibility only after the whole product is made, and because of that you have issues with your design, you have issues with all the decisions that you took before caring about accessibility. Another lie that I heard a lot is accessibility make my product more expensive to develop, and that is both true and untrue. Why is it true? It's true because, again, if you care about accessibility once the product is done, then you have to go back over the product. You have to make refactoring. You have to go back over new design. You have to maybe hire a designer or just redo some whole page and whole systems. And that takes time. That takes time. That takes decision. That takes human power. So of course, it's going to take a lot more money. But if you care about accessibility as soon as you try to implement the product, if you are thinking, okay, we have like this new project, we have to make it accessible. Okay, what can we do? What are the designs should be? How they can be accessible? Then it's not at all more expensive. It might be a little tiny more expensive, but maybe like a tenth of the project maximum. Okay, another lie that I heard quite a lot also is to have an accessible product, it must be very ugly. I often hear that because we all have, and I'm not sure about Spain, but we have this in France at least, we have like this government website and they all look like from the 90s and they look like super old, and we are like, oh yes, they're accessible, but they're like really ugly. And for that, I want to show you what Amazon did, for example, in the 90s. So we have the Amazon logo from 1998 and we have the website in 2005. So just to remind, for all of you, in 2005 we have like Blackberries. I don't know, is there people who have like Blackberries? I'm the only one? Okay, a few of them. And we have also the Amazon logo. What's the problem with the Amazon logo is that as a visually impaired person, I can check the logo and say, oh, okay, that's an A for sure. Yeah, that represents the A of Amazon. But if I'm visually impaired, if I have like issues, if I have like very bad eyesight, then I will go over the A and it will be maybe a little blurry. I don't understand if it's the A. I don't understand if it's really, if it does represent Amazon or is it just like some different logo and I don't understand if it's the A per se. And then we have the website in 2005. It's very complicated to navigate on it. I don't understand exactly what is a button or what is not. I don't understand one of the categories. It's very difficult to basically navigate on it. If anybody wants to argue with it, I help. If anybody can tell me what's written on top of these categories, I mean, like, that's not my case. So you can imagine this on a little tiny Blackberries from the 2000s. That must be half. And why am I speaking about this? And I'm not praising Amazon in any way, but now we have Amazon today, and they have like very clear logos that we all recognize with a little smile. This is the one we receive on our little packages, and we have the website by itself. And I'm saying it's not perfect. There is a way of getting better, but it's definitely way better than it was. In my opinion, it might not be the opinion of everyone, but in my opinion, that's still stylish and mean, that's okay. I understand. It's not probably going to get any award in design, but it's still pretty okay. You can understand the categories, you can understand what's the button. You have no issues with navigation on the website by itself. So it's a lie, basically. You don't have to have an ugly product to be accessible. The solutions. So I'm going to present you the solutions, and the solution is quite easy. You just go over pub.dev, which is like the NPM of Flutter, if you never made Flutter, and you add the accessibility solver, and done. That's all. Of course, I'm lying, guys. Of course, I'm lying. This is not that easy. There's no single solution. This is more a set of solutions. So for that, to help you to go around all the solutions that you have, I'm going to go over all the categories that I just told you about before, and we're going to go over and we're going to see what we can do for each different category and each kind of disability. So let's start with the sensory disabilities, and we're going to see what we can do for blind or visually impaired people. Of course, the first thing you can do is care about the size of the font and of the component. What I'll show you is that this little example, it's very good because maybe you test your UI with this. This is more often you're going to test your UI is good, like, oh yeah, it works very well. But does that work if you make the font bigger like this? If it breaks, then it's not good, because it means like whenever people who have visually impaired and set the settings in their phone or in the website or any product that you have to the maximum and go over UI, and if it breaks, it means that the person doesn't have the access to all the content you have on your website. It means that the website or the product is not accessible. In Flutter, you have to be very careful about overflow. Overflow is basically your content go out of the page that you have, and basically it's not readable anymore. So you have to be very careful about it. Another thing that a lot of designers really like to do, but it's really not accessible, so you have to very be careful about it. It's basically, you can just check this out here. We have like a word which is not finished, and they like to do stuff like this. Basically, it's called ellipsis. And basically you don't show the full text. This is good in some ways because you can just have a fixed size for articles and stuff like this, but this is not good because, again, if that works for size, font size like this, it's great, but if you make the font size bigger and then you don't have access to the whole content of your application or your website, then you're losing content, then the product is not accessible. So you have to be careful about these little things. One of the other things you have to care about is basically don't have a font size by default too small or too big by default. You have to really care about what the settings are on the font of the person, but moreover, you have to be careful about what are the distance of the device compared to the user. If you are in New York and you look at a very big billboard, of course you're not going to put size 20 for the text. You're going to make it very big. But if you are from your phone, I don't know how you use your phone, but when I use my phone, for example, I'm around like 20 centimeters from my face. So I have to be careful on that. And these charts come from the European initiative. It's called like the European Accessibility Act. So it's a very long PDF of like 800 pages about rules and guidelines to make everything accessible. But you have like this kind of graphs that help you to basically decide what should be the ideal font size compared to how far away you are from the media to read. What can we have also? For the sensory disabilities, we can have a content with a contrast ratio of 4.5 to 1. What does that even mean? That means that there is a good contrast and there is bad contrast. We all love colors, but there is some colors that really doesn't go together. Maybe you've all been like some dark forums from the 90s or 2000, and you could basically even read what the content was because it was like maybe like gray over dark or something like this. I mean, it happens to me quite a lot. And so there is bad example that you have to really care about. I don't know if anybody can read this, but it's basically blue on black, which is really awful. And you have good example where basically you can definitely read what's happening, and you have no issue with the contrast of the content of the page. You also have to care about fonts. Maybe there is like people old enough to remember MSN, or is it a thing in Spain? I don't know. It's basically a chat where back in the days in 2000s, where it was very emoji like everywhere. And that was a big issue because you couldn't even read what's happening. So you have to be careful about the content, and you have to care about basically which font are you going to use. Don't go on that font and use like the latest and trendiest font. Just use a normal font that is used, that is recognized to be readable by everyone. This is great. Don't go over fancy basically. I spoke about 4.5 out of 1. What does that mean? It's just a ratio. You can calculate this ratio, for example, with this website called colors.co. It basically give you, if you give them like an exact color or the background, it will give you basically a rating. That's pretty nice. But if you want to really have the ratio itself, you have to go on webaim.org, which is a Mozilla website, and basically the same. It's working exactly the same, where you have like the foreground color that you can put here, the background color here, and you have actually the ratio that you have. So you have to have at least 4.5 out of to 1 to basically be accessible. And you have here under it basically a test with a WCAG or WCAG, if people call it like WCAG. To test basically if you have good enough contrast basically. Okay, now we can speak about voiceover and talkbacks and semantics. Does anybody know about voiceover and talkbacks? Alright, very few people, which is nice, so you will all learn something. So voiceover and talkback, what is this? There is this thing for... I was supposed to have... Oh yeah. I was supposed to have like basically a video, doesn't matter. So there is like this thing called voiceover and talkbacks. They're like screen reader technologies. Screen reader technologies are basically help for people who are blind, like definitely blind. So how does it work? It's like you use your phone, you activate voiceover or talkback, which are just natively in the phone on Android and iOS. And then after you can just slide left or right with your phone anywhere on your phone, and it basically go over next element or previous element. And if you want to just select something, you just double tap anywhere on your phone and it just selects what is the highlighted items that you have. We'll see more in details about it. But there is like this thing about how this is how it works, and millions of people use this every day to navigate on their phone. So there's different kinds of navigation that you have. But you have to worry about one thing. These screen readers, they read the content of the phone. But how do they know it? They know it not because like they are just genius and they just know how to say what to say, but they just go over your application or your product and they just analyze what are the semantics. The semantics are all over the place. You maybe heard about in HTML, maybe in Flutter, like we'll see today, and other media. Maybe in HTML, you all know maybe the alt, maybe arguments over the image. This is semantics. So what does it mean? It means that whenever I will go over VoiceOver and I will have like this button selected, it will read this thing. And whenever I will go over this title, it will read this thing. And this is how it goes. Right now, I'll showcase you an application, and this application is basically how I would have finished it. And I will be like, I'm satisfied with it. But if you look at the semantics, it's actually very bad. Because we have, for example, this button here, and it's just a button. But what does it do? You have no clue. If you are just a blind people, you don't see that it's a menu sandwich. Because like you can understand that with your view, you can see, oh, this is a button, and that means that there is a menu here. Or this button is definitely something to scan a QR code or have a QR code. But if you look at the semantics, VoiceOver would just say button, or here it would just say button, and you have no clue of what does it does. So for that, we use semantics, as I say. In Flutter, and this is just in Flutter, you have like this basically flag here, so like show semantics debugger that allow you to go from here to this. So now I'm going to show you about semantics. The class of semantics in Flutter is like quite scary. It's a constructor, it's like very long, but I swear it's really not that difficult to use. How do you use it? Before knowing how to use it, I'm going to go over the different kind of semantics there is. There is a semantics itself. It just basically allows you to add a label to any component you have. You have the merge semantics. Maybe you have different kind of text and you want to regroup them in one text. This is how you do it. You also have the block semantics. Block semantics is basically you go over some element, you say this is either readable or not readable. Basically you have a toggle, and if it's false, then the voiceover will not even read the semantics, and if it's on, they will. The exclude semantics is just exactly the block semantics, but permanently. So you will just say, I never want this text or this element to be read ever, and you will see how to use it. And then after you have the index semantics, which is basically used over list to say, for example, element 1 out of 5 and element 2 over 5, stuff like this. So semantics, how do they use in Flutter? Oh, it's in French, sorry. So basically, you have like this icon button. I would say we can maybe go over the examples that we had before with the sandwich menu buttons. We have like this icon button. We can see that it has an icon. Here's a little trash can icon. So for example, if I go over this button with VoiceOver, it will just say, oh, icon button, and that's all. We have no clue of what does it do by itself. So we can wrap it over with the semantics widgets, and we can say multiple things. We can say, hey, firstly, it's a button. Secondly, this button is working right now. And thirdly, we can add a label to this button. Here's like supprime, which is delete in English. I don't know how you say it in Spanish, sorry guys. And then after you can use variable. So whenever I will go over my icons later on, I can just have VoiceOver saying delete John Doe. And I can understand that, okay, this is a button that is going to allow me to delete John Doe. It's not going to be a button to do any other action, and I have more context over it. So right now we can go over my example. We have like this beautiful screen. We have the version which is like not optimized for semantics. Then we have like this one which is optimized for semantics. For example, some change are here, the little button, which was just a button, now says scan a QR code. And here we have also the open the menu button, which corresponds to this one, which was just saying nothing. And here we use, for this one and this one, we use basically exclude semantics. Why? Because they are decoration. They are like just SVGs. And blind people don't really care about decoration. They just want to care about the content. So we're just going to go and exclude them so they can just go over the content faster. There is also this basically widgets called semantics debuggers that allow you to not have the whole page, but just a little amount, I mean like some widgets in this kind of format, but it's not really relevant for this talk. And then lastly, we have the sensory reminders. What are the sensory reminders? They are basically the fact that we are caring about the different kind of sensory reminders. We are basically, if you have daltonism, you're going to see this form, and you're going to press on the submit button. Okay, 5 minutes left. I'm going to hurry up very quickly. And we have like this form, and we'll see, and if you have daltonism, you will never know that there is an error on the form. Why? Because you only put the form in red, and this is your error showing. But if you don't see the color red, then you will have no clue that the website didn't work. So you always have that to basically show an error or a success in two different ways. It could be with text, could be with haptics, could be with TTS, could be with a lot of ways, but never with only one way. Okay, let's go very quickly on the other kind of disabilities because I'm quite late on my talk. So let's go over the deaf and hard of hearing. What can we do? We can add subtitles or transcription for medias. If you have like a podcast or something, just add the transcription for it. And of course, for the sensory reminders, don't use sound. Don't just make a validation sound and say like, okay, this is great. No, you have to show it in some other ways. All right, let's go over the cognitive disabilities. We have dyslexia first. What can we do for dyslexia? People with dyslexia, we can use Open Dyslexic. It's just a font you don't have to add it by default on your website or on your product, but just add the settings that override all the font by this one. It's usually a 5 minutes or 10 minutes fix that can help people. For ADHD, what can you do? You can have a clean, streamlined interface. So don't go over what Amazon was in 2005. Make them like as streamlined as possible. Avoid long time as much as possible. Normally you should always do that, but just in general, just avoid to have like long time loading like this one. And if you do have loading, please make the loading progressive. Make a real progressive thing, not an infinite one like we have, like for example on Windows or also on Windows on this one. For epilepsy, this is also very, very easy. Just make a little animation when you have a big change on UIs. Make it like soft. Don't make it instantly, because that can provoke epilepsy crisis, and that will be very bad for your marketing and your application in general. Okay, for mobility disabilities, I would treat temporary as the same as person with mobility disability, because again, if you break your arm, you are basically a person with reduced mobility for just a temporary amount of time. So how can we do that? We basically have buttons, and buttons supposed to be easy to access UI. What does that mean? It means that basically you don't want to have a button this far up, because this is where with your finger it's very difficult to access, and even for normal people you have like a chance to drop in your phone or whatever. So this is just a reference. This is basically how much a normal person can access with a phone, so you can add basically buttons all over this place, but you're trying to avoid like this square on top. You also have adapted direction on map. Maybe, and this is the hardest to have, but if you have like for example navigation with Google Maps or anything, please include this little thing with wheelchair accessible, because you never know who is going to use your direction, and maybe it's people that's going to go in a wheelchair and that they don't have access to stairs, and they will never be able to go over stairs. So please, it's just like this. You have like this thing if you include it on the website. If you want to include it with API calls, it's a similar thing. So it's really a one-time thing. Then in last, we have the territorial accessibility. Do you know this application? Yes. All right. So it's Facebook. Do you know this application? No? All right. Not a lot of people know about it. So this is Facebook Lite. What is Facebook Lite? Facebook Lite is basically a version of Facebook, which is basically light, in a way that Facebook itself uses 75 megabytes, and you need to have Android 11, and Facebook Lite is a 2 megabyte application with Android 8 minimum. You have, oh my god, I forgot to translate this, I'm sorry guys. You have less animation, less request, but you have the same similar experience. In a way that this one is usable in places, for example, when there is like limited data. Here we are in Spain, we are in Europe, we mostly have like gigabyte access to internet everywhere. We have like plan on our mobile phone with like 100 gigabyte of 4G or 5G, stuff like this. But that's not the case in some other places. If you want a truly accessible application in the whole world, then you have to care about this thing. Because for example, if you go to Kenya or some other places, they might not have the same experience, and data is very costly there. Again, I forgot to translate this slide, I'm sorry guys. More reference. So there is like the ETSI EN 3N1 449, that's the European Accessibility Act that I talked about earlier. You have like some accessibility Flutter documentation page and some other things. You have also website I talked about. You have some Google Code Lab if you want to go over it, and more if you want to go over this one. I will share my slide with you with pleasure. That's basically me.